And another night of the Joe and Joe Weather Show is here on the 29th of January, 2020. Hey, this new year, Joe, is moving right along.
Almost the end of the first month of the year. Way to
Amazing. And it just reconnected. Well, that was pretty interesting. All right. Radio's short fuse update. I put it on the app, and you got your notification. So we're going to try to do that on a daily basis. If you we could either watch Joe live on Joe Rayo Weather, or you could also watch Joe Rayo Weather on my weather app. So that's good. So you got a little more coverage there, young man.
well, a lot of people were congratulating the fact that we now on my YouTube channel we've just passed the 600 mark, aiming for that 1,000. So we'll see how long it takes to get up there. But
Yeah,
in the
you
meantime,
need one good blizzard. You know what? One good blizzard. If we get one, that would put you over the top pretty quick.
that ain't
But that
happening
ain't happening.
there.
Oh, you know what? Darn it! I forgot to bring it down. So I guess I'll use the next best thing.
Oh, you're waving the white flag
I'm
for
throw
snow
I'm
tires,
throwing in the towel.
or you're throwing in the towel.
Okay. I got to tell you how bad it is, Joe. And this was really this really kind of cemented it for me. So yesterday, I talked about how trying to just wait to see if there's any kind of change in the long range, get it inside the 10-day period for the first time because the model is forever showing something a better pattern out between days 11 and 16, and it never advances beyond that. Well, yesterday it got inside day 10, so it was like, okay, well that works for me. And then I started looking around, and I was looking up in the stratosphere at the 10 millibar level, and I noticed, oh, look at this. This wrapped up polar vortex is going to actually split in two in the next 10 days or so.
Right.
And it was a whole bunch of runs. I went back about 3 or 4 days, just to see the progress. There it was, and it would split in two, and part of it would go down into eastern Canada. The other part goes back up, toward Siberia. And whenever you get that, that's usually atmospheric chaos, and that winds up, moving chess pieces around. And of course, lo and behold, today I was looking at it, and it doesn't split. It just sits up there, and nothing changes. This is really just unrelenting. And uh, look, if it changes, it's going to probably take 10 days to 2 weeks to run it through. That puts you already into the second half of February. Um, I'm not going to fight I'm not going to fight stats that say 95, what is it, 93 or 95% of the time. If you're less than 5 inches of snow at this point on the calendar, you ain't going nowhere for the rest of the winter.
Right. Right. It's a pattern that is not very favorable for snow or conducive for snow or even prolonged periods of cold weather. And I said, Joe, on my short fused update, which you just mentioned about an hour ago, I said, in all the years that I've been, doing this, I'd be hard pressed, and I have a pretty good memory. I'd be hard pressed to kind of remember we were this deep into January or heading on into February, and there's nothing. There is nothing in terms of any kind of
Yeah.
major outbreak of cold air or any kind of ramping up of stormy weather or a storm track that might develop in the coming days ahead. There's nothing. So the next couple of weeks looks to be El Bordo.
It it there's maybe two winters where it kind of reminds me a little bit of. One was maybe 2007, 2008. And I think we could throw in the one in the late 90s where was it 97, 98?
I think 97, 98.
Well, the
Yeah.
one where you hardly saw a flake or an ice pellet until the day after the first day of spring.
Right.
And if you were lucky enough to get underneath what looked like basically, a target zone, that New York City got lucky and got caught in, because otherwise, if you were on either side of that by a handful of miles, you got nothing. That was it as far as snow was concerned. It came right after the first day of spring, and that was the end of that. The rest of the winter, I can remember that one. I remember one where you struggle to see a snow flurry or an ice pellet for the entire winter. So I
Was
don't
that
know.
was that the winter where if we had not gotten that day after vernal equinox storm, if we would have had like less than an inch of snow?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, Oh, I mean, the horrors. So at the very least, at the very least, it shows that nothing's new here. This sort of stuff has happened before. So, what did you think? We've been kind of seeing, this sort of back and forth. The Nam last night and during the overnights last night had this, this big area of dark blue snow moving from Delaware into southern New England. Then, of course, it comes in and takes it away. Late this afternoon, it kind of edged the precip back. All I'm saying is in my forecast, basically, is that there's a chance for a grazing of a little rain or snow late Friday night into early Saturday morning. If that doesn't happen, you're not going to see anything in terms of precip until the middle part of next week. And you're going to warm up into the 50s on the way there when we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week.
I concur. I totally concur. I said maybe those of you who get up early on Saturday, you might see some wet snowflakes in the air. That'll be a kind of a cheap thrill for some of you. But after that, things are going to move on toward an improving weather pattern. Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday looks like a pretty good day, and maybe some clouds early, and then some sunshine in the afternoon. No travel problems, it would appear. And if it starts cloudy on Sunday morning, that means the local groundhog and also the groundhog out in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, probably will not see his shadow, and as a result, will
How
declare
could
that
he not see his
clear.
shadow with all those lights shining on him?
It's
I mean,
true.
seriously. I mean, those are the kind of days. There's a handful of days every year where weather people really just want to go in and hide, and,
Well,
and that's one of those days.
I think actually, Joe, we never really do see that groundhog come out of his hole or out of his burrow. What we do see is this guy with this big top hat, and
Right.
he knocks on a door. He opens up the box. He brings the groundhog out, and then he reads because he understands groundhogese. He understands what the groundhog is trying to translate to him, and so like on a scroll. So I don't know whether or not it's the groundhog himself or whether or not it's somebody who is making the forecast up for him. But I have a feeling that whoever or whatever is making the forecast this year that they're going to say no shadow, winter is over. But we'll see.
Oh, who knows? And by the way, if the groundhog, I wish I, you know what? I wish I could find that Warner Brothers cartoon clip, which was, occasionally they did those cartoons that were like sort of making fun of documentaries,
Right.
and there was one where they are profiling the habits of different animals, and uh, they have the groundhog, and the ground, and you've seen it. The groundhog peers out of his hole. He's nature's weatherman. How does he do it? And you see him. Then he runs through the hole, through the tunnel that he's made into his den, and he's got weather maps and he's got the machines and the
Right.
stuff. I mean, that to me is, I always love that particular image. I also like what they did with the chameleon.
The chameleon.
Yeah, and the chameleon in that cartoon.
Oh, he,
Um,
he has like plaid.
Right, the last thing they show him, and he goes, "I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it." Okay, so let's um, let's just go through a couple of things. First of all, I pulled up the Teleconnections today, and one of the things about the ESRL website, Joe,
Up there, right there.
yeah. Oh, there you go. One of the things about the ESRL website is that every once in a while it's down for a day or two. I'm not sure why. I also noticed, by the way, that the Moss website from the Weather Service has been down for like a week now. But no
Yeah.
matter. So I
Yeah.
went in today and I pull up the teleconnections, and I'm going to just tell you, folks, the teleconnection indices, which is a snapshot from last night's zero Z model run, are about as god awful as you can get for a snow lover. You have the Pacific North America index is now forecast to go sharply negative, then kind of spike up to neutral around February 5th. So that might be a date to circle in terms of getting in terms of something going on somewhere in the U.S. And then it goes sharply negative again. And then the NAO, which is neutral to slightly negative up until about February 4th, shoots up off the wall positive by the
Right.
time we get to February 12th. And the EPO, which is off the wall positive right now, winds up kind of trending down toward the neutral line. They had been back a few days ago. We were seeing a negative EPO and much better looking. Look, the bottom line, in my view, is that whatever has got a hold of this weather pattern that's keeping things the way it is, any attempt to break it in the atmosphere is being met with fierce resistance, and it's just not going to do it. There's nothing out there that I can see that's going to rip this pattern apart in the shorter medium term. So and by the way, it's you take a look, Joe. Look at the national or the weather service at weather.gov, the watches and warnings map. There is nothing. Okay, you've got a couple of high wind issues. I don't know if those are high wind. The gold is what? That's high wind watch up for northern Montana, and high wind watches up for a few counties down in Southern California, and some wind advisories in Southern California. That's it. There's not a winter weather advisory, a winter storm watch, a winter storm warning, nothing from coast to coast. That's how just quiet it is.
Ho hum weather. By the way, February 5th is National Weather Person's Day, so maybe, just maybe, the weather gods will throw down to all of us who are into dynamic meteorology a cheap thrill that day. But
Huh.
yeah, I
Way
don't see much of anything happening either before or after.
it'll be it's the five and dime store type cheap thrill the way it looks.
Yeah,
Nothing much. Looking at the satellite. We've been talking about the fact that we've had multiple short waves running around, and we still do. There's a system going out to our south with a dying area of rain. There's energy dropping down from the northwest down into Southern California, but other than the fact that it's producing some wind issues, nothing that stands out. And finally, Joe, I woke up this morning to a solid overcast. It did not break out until about 10 or 11 o'clock this morning and finally broke out wide open. I was really upset this morning, waking up to overcast skies, thinking that, oh boy, here we go. Another day where I'm not going to see, any sun. It was very ominous out there this morning from that respect. And then thankfully it all broke open and skies have actually stayed relatively clear from northeast Virginia to southern New England through the afternoon and into this evening.
actually, I think tomorrow is going to go the other way. We'll probably see sunshine to start in the morning, and then I think we'll see a lot of high clouds coming in during the late morning and midday, and they'll continue to increase and thicken up a bit toward the end of the afternoon. So we may start out very bright, but end up, I won't say gray, but probably with quite a bit of cloud cover toward the end of the day. And then tomorrow night, just a lot of clouds, partly to mostly cloudy skies. And so Friday, I'm not really, too optimistic we're going to see a lot of sun. Probably more clouds and sun will fit the bill for Friday, and then maybe, as you pointed out earlier, a touch of precipitation, perhaps, if that coastal system has anything to do with it, Friday night into the early part of Saturday.
Dirty high to the north, marginal cold air. That's all we have. Uh, Really, there's no that's the thing, Joe. It's not just the urban corridor that hasn't seen very much happening, but as far as snow is concerned, but we're not seeing storm activity going on really in other places. It's quiet everywhere, which is a little weird, but it does happen. And I again, not much is going to change. Here's I'll bring up the NAM real quick. You can see how enthused I am.
Well, I tell you what, Joe, you were a lot more into wintry weather and snow and everything when I first met you all those years ago, and I'm sure you'd probably be in a really super depressed mode now, if that's
Yeah, after working all those years in all those storms, uh, I don't know how I feel about it. Right? I understand what you're getting at. I don't know. I kind of when it's like this, there's not much to talk about. There's not much to write about. There's not much to look at. I rather have something to look at, even if it's a struggle to figure out what it is that's going to happen. Um, but here we have a system that could have come together in a big way, but unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, the upper air was not lining up right. And also, the fact that we have marginal cold air explains why, on the northern fringe of this, you can't even have solid blue snow. There's rain in the mix. Now, the late afternoon NAM, this is at 4 a.m. Saturday morning, it actually does bring a little bit of snow to southeastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, Long Island, and maybe up to about you. And then it just slides out to the east. I mean, unless we were to get some kind of wrapped up low, this will not really amount to much. Looks like they might get a decent shot of snow and ice in Nova Scotia out of this. And I want to say hello to those of you who are watching from Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. I got a little message earlier saying that there's a little group that watches there on a regular basis, so we always welcome the folks from the Canadian Maritime provinces. And then, of course, once this pulls out, as the longer range models have indicated, we are going to warm up. In fact, if you look really closely here on the GFS, it's hard to see on this map. Let me switch to the other ones. But there's no cold air behind this, by the way. No cold air at all. It's actually warmer behind this front than ahead of it, this weather system, than necessarily is ahead of it. And we're going to warm up quickly, I think, on Monday with westerly winds and a high over the state of Florida. The next cold front still back up through the Great Lakes. That doesn't get here until sometime later Wednesday. So Monday and Tuesday, if we get enough sun on either of those days, Joe, I wonder if we could, and maybe, I wonder if somebody could push 60 out of this. Certainly, like down in maybe Northeast Virginia and into Maryland, probably could do it. I don't know if it'll make it up here, but we certainly will see 50s.
I think Tuesday in the lower Hudson Valley, I would go for spread of temperatures from like 49 to 55. And that could even be conservative.
Right.
And the normal high in the Hudson Valley at this time of the year, the lower Hudson Valley, about 35 to 40 or 36 to 41. So here we are talking possibly early next week with temperatures up near or even above 50, maybe even mid 50s. You're talking about 60, maybe for some inland areas, I would suppose in New Jersey and points in South Jersey,
Yeah, maybe
especially.
South Jersey down, south and west of there. We're also at the time of year. We're going to start to get to the time of year where, under the right setup and the west wind and a fair amount of sunshine, you can see the temperatures zoom up higher than what's usually modeled. Here's your next front that comes through next Wednesday. A little shot of cold air behind it. Looks like there's a wave that goes up off the coast. And of course, it's probably, for snow lovers, it's better you see the model not showing you something rather than showing you something, because when it shows you something, it's a pretty good bet it ain't going to happen. And with respect to the long range, I just want to bring the upper air up here really fast. I mean, it still tries, it's still trying to bring a vortex down. If you look closely here, folks, you'll notice, I'm going to just run it back. Here we go with the weekend. The troughs don't really phase very well, and that's why this is just going to be, this is just going to be what it is, which is a low running out and grazing the coast. Then the trough lifts out, ridge builds in the east. Next trough swings around, so we get this cold front in on Thursday. Now there is a vortex. Looks like for the first time all winter, we're seeing a vortex actually dropping down into Hudson's Bay, and that at least tries to bring down some colder air into the U.S. But it's a struggle here. It holds on through the end of the period. I just don't know what you can get out of all of this. There's no blocking. You have a split flow in the Pacific, so you got an upper high over the Aleutians. So the Pacific really doesn't look all that bad. I disagree with what a lot of people, I've seen a few people say, oh, it's the Pacific, it's the Pacific. I don't think it's the Pacific. The Pacific, I think, is actually okay. It's up north. It's up in Canada. It's up in the Arctic regions when you have Arctic air locked up, uh, up in over Greenland and in places going back up over the North Pole into Siberia. when you've got your polar vortex locked up there, there's no way any cold air can get down here.
Right. And you said at the top of our discussion that for a while some of the models were suggesting that the 10 millibar model was suggesting a splitting of that polar vortex.
Up in the stratosphere.
Right, and then it changed its mind.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I don't know what the new run did. We could take a look at that. I haven't really been paying a whole lot of attention to it, but being that I'm at the point now with other folks, snow weenies that are trying to grasp at whatever straw they can. Now take a look at this. By the way, this is what it looks like right now, in the stratosphere. This is actually yesterday. This was actually on Monday. You've got the polar vortex in the stratosphere sitting up on the north coast of Siberia, basically. And there's, all that. You see how tightly wrapped it is. That's telling you that all your cold air is locked up in the Arctic regions. Now, this dark brown, this is one of those stratospheric warming events that is going to attack the polar vortex in the next week or so, and it starts to stretch out right in here. The earlier runs were actually splitting this, but on this one, it just kind of stretches it and then it rotates back. It does gravitate that vortex away from Siberia and down to Greenland and almost into northern Canada. I have to be honest, I don't know what the impact of what happens upstairs at that level has to what happens downstairs, because sometimes it couples and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. Are you a good witch or a bad witch? I have no idea. So for those of you who follow this sort of stuff, I'm going to defer to those people and just leave it at that. I really, and the other thing is, Joe, a few people, everybody's always pointing out, okay, um, every day it's, oh, the GFS has a snowstorm on day 7 or day 9 or day 10 or day 11. You're on full screen, by the way, just so you know. And
Well, I said this before.
it's like, why are you wasting your time? You
The
know?
Europe, the European is having a bad year, a bad winter. I saw something like this a few years ago. I think it was the winter of 2011, 2012, when we had something similar to that. But yeah, there's something to yawn about, Joe, because as I said, ho hum weather. There's not much to say. I mean,
Yeah. I'm wondering, after this winter is over, because I'm going to be curious of those that are really, they get into this sort of long term analysis, long range analysis. How we should be back now. Sorry for the interruption, folks. That is Optimum Online. They've struck again, uh, knocking where the internet signal takes a hit. But we are back. So that's a good thing. I'm sorry. So what I was saying was I'm going to be curious to see how they're going to explain the fact that the atmosphere did not behave in a way that they thought it should have behaved, given the parameters of what we were seeing on a global scale.
when everything's going to fall into place, probably April or late April or May, we'll get everything all set up in a manner that is a, why couldn't we have we'll have the big polar high coming down. We'll have coastal storm after coastal storm. It will be a delayed spring, and you say to yourself, why couldn't we have this pattern in January or February
Yeah.
cold enough? That's probably what's going to happen. Till then, we're stuck with this pattern probably ad nauseum for at least the next couple of weeks.
Well, if it comes in March, I'm going down to Georgia for a short time, so they will have to do it without me. All right, so in the absence of anything going on across the United States weather-wise to talk about, it's going to be a short show tonight. I do have. We could play Briller Jeopardy. I saved a question from a week or so ago when we had that Florida cold, and Scott reminded me of it today. So, are you ready?
I'm all set.
Okay. Um, we'll do it this way. The lowest temperature recorded ever in this Florida city was 41. Good luck. Do 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 do. Dum 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 da dum 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 boom boom.
Key
Okay,
Key West.
correct. I it is Key West. Very good.
Oh,
You
lovely.
got it. That's it. This is about as exciting as it gets tonight. It's your birthday too, right, Joe? No, no, no. Just kidding. Uh, um, that's from I Love Lucy. Are you hearing me?
Couldn't you hear that music?
No, I didn't hear the music. What was it? I'm still not. I'm not hearing it.
Oh, well, all right. I guess it's not working
What were
then.
you? What were you playing?
I was trying to play somebody's version, some amateur's version of the Jeopardy theme song, which sounds more like a somebody playing it on a kazoo.
Oh, well. Oh, so that's it. All
If
right,
we
folks.
if
Well,
we
go
played
ahead.
that, we'd get sued for copyright infringement.
Yeah,
And
you
we're
don't want to do that.
all
You're not supposed to do that.
right.
So anyway, all right. So let's leave it at that, folks. There's not much going on tonight, so we'll end it early. Thanks for being here. It's coming up on 7:30. This is probably the shortest show we've done in quite a while. So have a great night. Check out updated stuff on the weather apps or on the websites. Joe Rayo Weather, his YouTube channel. Be sure you've subscribed to that, and that's it. Okay,
As Robert Brown just said on the chat board, it's a wrap.
it's a wrap. Correct. Nighty night, everybody.
Eh.